Write and solve an inequality to find the sales Mrs. Jones needs if she earns a monthly salary of $2,000 plus a 10% commission on her sales. Her goal is to make at least $4,000 per month. What sales does she need to meet her goal? So we want to define our variable, and our variable comes from the question that we're asked. And the question that we're asked is, what sales does she need? So that's going to be our variable. I'm really tempted to use the letter S for the variable for sales, but I find that when I use the letter S, inevitably as I'm working the problem, my S starts to look more and more like a 5. And so I don't want to use S for my variable. So I'm going to use like maybe G for her goal. So G is going to be the sales that she needs. I know that's a weird variable choice to use G for sales, but my S's just look so much like 5s that sometimes I end up getting the problem wrong because of my sloppy handwriting. Okay, so she wants to make at least $4,000. At least means it's got to be greater than or equal to. In other words, she wants to make $4,000, but she's totally fine if she makes more than $4,000. Who wouldn't be fine with making more money than you need, right? So this is going to be greater than or equal to $4,000. She needs $4,000, but if she makes $5,000 instead, she's going to be okay with that. Okay, so how much money does she actually make? Well, it says she makes a salary of $2,000 plus a 10% commission on her sales. So she's going to make $2,000 plus 10% of her sales. So 10% I'm going to write as a decimal. 10 divided by 100 is just going to be 0.10, or you can do 0.1 if you like. So 10% of her sales, and we already defined her sales as G, so 10% of G. Now, writing the inequality is the hard part. Once the inequality is written, we're home free. All we have to do is solve it. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll start off with the subtraction property. Subtract 2,000 on both sides using our subtraction property. And so our 2,000s here are going to cancel, leaving us with 0. And I'm just going to write 0.1. We don't need that 0 on the end. 0.1 G is greater than or equal to 4,000 minus 2,000, of course, is 2,000. And then our last step is going to be to divide both sides by 0.1. You can use a calculator if you want to, but dividing by 1/10 is pretty easy. It's the same thing as multiplying by 10. We are dividing by a positive number, so we do not need to flip the inequality. And dividing by 1/10 just means add a 0 onto the end. So our answer here is 20,000, but let's write our answer in context. What sales does she need to meet her goal? She needs $20,000 in sales. 10% of that, $2,000, is going to be her commission, and then she makes a salary of $2,000 for a total of $4,000. Actually, I shouldn't say she needs $20,000 in sales because that's not right. Because she'd be fine if she made more than that. Let's say she needs at least $20,000 in sales because our symbol is greater than or equal to. So let's go ahead and say at least. She needs at least $20,000 in sales to meet her goal of at least $4,000 per month of money that she makes.